Hello, magical people of the internet. I am Jen, and welcome to I Never Thought I Would, where we talk about doing things we never thought we would do and the unexpected places that they can lead us to. I have a fabulous guest today. She is a geek girl. She is a USA Today best-selling author, and she also leads writing workshops for those of you out there who are interested in having a go at writing your own book. Anna J. Stewart. Hi, Anna.
Hello, Jen. Great to be with you.
So nice to have you here today. How are you?
I'm great. I'm here. So let's go with great.
Exactly. Yes, I agree. I agree. We are here. We are healthy. That is number one.
Absolutely.
Fabulous. So you were obsessed with Wonder Woman and Star Trek and Charlie's Angels as a kid. You,
Still am.
I know. Yes, definitely. I am still a huge Wonder Woman fan myself. Um, and you have a fascinating imagination. You have written dozens of books. And yeah, so that's just a testament to how imaginative you are. And as a creative, I'm sure you've done, like one or two things you never thought you would do. And I would love Yes, I would love for you to share one of those with us today and let us know where it led you.
Sure. Well, actually the biggest thing I can think that I have done that I never thought I would do is write sweet romance. I Back when sweet romance first started hitting, especially with Harlequin, a friend of mine was writing for the Heartwarming line, and I remember giving her such a bad time because I'm like, you can't have a romance novel without a love scene or without sex. And cut to a few years later, I've written about 15 of them, but it was one of those opportunities that presented itself. When I really got serious about my writing, I was writing paranormal romance. It's still my first love. Someday I hope to be published in it. I'm not wired for indie publishing. The people who do that work way harder than I want to work. I just want to write the stories, honestly. So, but paranormal wasn't going to get me where I wanted to go, which was with a New York publishing house. That was my goal. I wanted print books in the bookstore, traditionally published. Has always been and is still my dream. So when paranormal wasn't going to get me there, my agent at the time says, "What else do you have?" Well, the only other thing I had was a contemporary romance, and after writing paranormal for almost 10 years, I dug it out, I revamped it, and completely rewrote it because, oh my goodness gracious, how you grow in 10 years, and all that you learn about writing, especially. But at the same time, that same friend of mine had come up with an idea for an anthology for Heartwarming, where she wanted to do 3 Christmas novellas that were tied together in one big story. And she approached another author, Anna Adams, and myself, mainly because we were available for this. It was Skype at the time.
Mhm.
Remember Skype days? That seems so long ago now. But we got onto a Skype session. We started talking about it. She goes, I really want to pitch this to my editor at Heartwarming. And I'm like, sweet romance. Okay, sure. Having no idea really the nuances of that particular subgenre of romance. And it sold. It sold on proposal. I mean, fortunately, it was only about 20,000 words. And for some reason, the book was really kind of there when I sat down to write it. It was also the first short I'd ever written because most of my stuff has always been really, really long and really in need of an editor. But this, for some reason, everything in this project kind of fell into place. Even though when I said yes, I'm like, I don't know where this is going to take me, but it certainly can't hurt. So
Okay.
let's take a chance and see where it goes.
Okay, I want to take a few steps back because I have a lot of questions as to
Okay.
like how you actually got there. So you were saying you write paranormal romance. So you don't have any of the paranormal romance pieces published, is that correct?
I've self-published a few of them.
Okay,
And that's another opportunity that presented itself that I jumped at, where I could write for for a particular romance magazine.
okay.
And they wanted original novellas. So I was able to go back to the paranormal and
But
publish
that was
some
after the sweet
well
one.
after.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So what I'm trying to like figure out a timeline because you were
Oh,
saying
sure.
that you wrote paranormal romance, but you knew that it wasn't going to get picked up by traditional pub.
Right.
And that, you didn't have like the consistency for self-publishing, which I totally, totally understand. I'm in that
Right.
world and it is a full-time job. You think writing the book is hard and then you like try getting the book out there. So
Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly. So I, instead of keeping on the straight path that I thought I had set for myself, I took a hard right
Okay.
into the sweet romance genre.
And then also just kind of taking a couple steps back, you said you had an agent already. So how did you have a lit agent? Like, were you publishing articles? Like, what was the trajectory kind of your writing career prior to doing this Christmas novella trilogy with a friend?
So in 2012, I finaled in what was then the Romance Writers of America's Golden Heart Contest. That's their
Okay.
big contest for unpublished authors. Ironically, I finaled with a paranormal romance, urban fantasy paranormal romance.
Okay.
The great thing about that contest at the time, unfortunately, the contest is no more, but the contest at the time was really a way that opened doors for unpublished authors. It's kind of the one time or it was for me, it was the one time where agents were approaching me, can I read your book? Without me having to solicit to them. So I had a number of agents reach out, a number of agents who said, this isn't for me, which isn't surprising considering it ended up going nowhere anywhere. Anyway, but another agent did say, I love this book. I want to see where we can take it. So I ended up with that agent who shopped it around, and it came close a couple of places, but they weren't sure how to market it because it's out of the box. It wasn't easily defined. It wasn't werewolves. It wasn't vampires. It wasn't, time travel or anything like that. It was a completely new thing that I think they just didn't know how to market it effectively to make it a success. So that was when my agent came back to me and she goes, I can't, I've taken it everywhere. She says, what else do you have? And if you have anything contemporary, I think that's probably the way we want to go if you want to stay on this track toward traditional publishing.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, so fast forward now, you've done the Christmas novella, it explodes, it's going everywhere. And then what happens? How do you get picked up by traditional pub?
Well, the Christmas novella was picked up. It was Harlequin. So,
Okay, because your friend was
yeah,
already involved with them with her sweet romance.
right, exactly.
Okay, cool. So
So,
you kind of
right,
got an in with your friend that you were,
exactly.
you were
Got
giving him
my
some
foot
shade.
kind of wedged in the door there, and it allowed me the opportunity to submit because well, I had switched agents. I had attained another agent by then. Long story.
Mhm.
Um, but I was able to get in a little easier than if I was just cold submitting through the slush pile. Um, so really taking that chance on an opportunity that normally I would have gone, why would I want to write sweet romance? And now I love writing sweet romance. It's not all that I write, but it is right now it's really the stuff that started to take off. So.
See, this is such a fabulous story because not only did you never think you would write sweet romance, you actually were kind of like, throwing some shade at your friend, like, why would you write that type of
Oh,
thing? And this friend
totally.
that you were throwing the shade at brought you, handheld you through the door
Hmm.
of her world. And that's what made you the huge success that you are today.
Well, I'm getting to the huge part.
You're
I'm
huge. You are
finally.
a USA Today best-selling author. You are huge. You have dozens of books published by traditional pub. You are huge, Anna. Don't downplay it. Just accept it. You
I
are
shall accept. Okay.
phenomenal.
I'll embrace the success. Okay.
Yes. But I see, that's why That's why I started this show. That's why I want to hear the I never thought I would stories, because time and time again, every single person I talk to, their huge break, that big breakthrough in their life came from doing not just something they never thought they would do, something they were resistant to in the
Mm,
first place. So
yeah.
I'm so grateful for you sharing this with me, because especially now, a year and a half later, we're still in the middle of this craziness of the pandemic. And I just want to encourage people. So many of us feel stuck. So many of us
Hmm.
feel lost. We're not sure like which way we're going. And I just want to
Yeah,
encourage people to like do something you never thought you would do something you never really wanted to do. If the opportunity brings itself to you, that's the world offering you something.
exactly. Yes. Yeah. You have to be open. You have to be open, uh, I think, or at least have your eyes wide enough that you can see the opportunities as they present themselves. Because sometimes they don't last very long. You blink and you miss them. So
Yes.
staying alert to any possibility that you have to take your life in a new direction.
Yeah. And I'm sure your friend, if you would have said, I don't think it's for me, could have called up a couple other people and asked them. They
Absolutely.
could have just moved down
Absolutely.
the list, right?
Yeah, exactly. Oh,
Well, good for you. Good for
there's
you
a
for
twist.
thinking.
The what if.
Yes, that's fabulous. Okay, so now I know you have several series. We don't have time to get into all of them. As you said, you've got a lot of books published. So why don't we talk about the Butterfly Harbor series? Because
Okay.
that is the series that has your newest book that just came out this month. And what
Yes.
number is this book in the series?
This is number 10 in the series, and there will be 12. Yeah, there will be 12, but this is number 10.
And this is called Building a Surprise Family.
It is, yes, and it's a book that I was really looking forward to writing in this series, because the hero has kind of been in every single book up until now. He started off in the very first book as a sheriff's deputy, but he's the roly-poly tech guy who gets, fix the computers, fix the printers, make sure everything is working. He's not really the guy that people go to necessarily ask for sheriff's deputy help, even though that is what he is. So that's how he is in the first book. And then something happens in the third book that um, affects him in a way that he decides to make a change in his life. And
Okay,
he
hold on
gets,
right there.
sure.
Can you just kind of give us an overview of what the Butterfly Harbor series is
Oh,
about?
sure.
And then we can get into the specifics about this
Okay.
character and how he kind of evolved into this 10th book.
Okay, so Butterfly Harbor is the Butterfly Harbor series from Harlequin Heartwarming, which obviously is their sweet romance line. And it's a town that I created based on the area of Monterey and Pacific Grove, California, which is one of my favorite places to visit. It's only about a 3-hour drive from where I live.
Okay.
And I grew up in the Bay Area, so I'd been to Monterey frequently. And Pacific Grove is actually on the monarch butterfly migration pattern. And when I first came up with the idea for the series, there was a lot in the news about the effects of climate change on the migratory patterns of the butterfly and how important they were to our ecosystem.
Mhm.
So putting those two things kind of together and knowing that Heartwarming was looking for small town romances, I created this town. It's a very idealistic town. It's kind of a place you would want to live because the conflict is low, and it's kind of like a fairy tale village for, um, if you like Hallmark movies. Butterfly Harbor it fits right into kind of that thing. That's not to say people don't have problems and issues, that they do, but we've got the town sheriff, we've got the local diner, we've got the bookstore, and right all sitting on the Pacific Ocean. So and always with butterfly imagery throughout all of the books. So Ozzy, my hero in book 10, is a big part of the community from book 1. And then, like I said, in book 3, he kind of has an aha moment and he makes some changes in his life. And those changes have been taking place visually because we haven't been in his head up until book 10. And now, book 10, he's kind of transformed himself I didn't realize until I finished the book, a little like a butterfly. And he's he's wanting what all of his friends have found, which is his own happily ever after. But of course, he's grown up in this town. Everybody knows him, and everybody still kind of sees him as he was, and not necessarily what he's become. So, of course, somebody has to arrive in town and see him in a completely new way, and that is construction for a woman, Joe Bertolotti. And I purposely wanted to give her a job that is traditionally a man's world. Construction is traditionally a man's world. So to have a woman in that field is unusual. So that makes it more fun to write. And not only is she 7 years older than he is, she's also 5 months pregnant when she arrives in town. Her fiance's dumped her. She's now on her own, and she's come to Butterfly Harbor to help fix one of the projects that they've been working on in town. So from the time that they meet, pretty much in the first chapter, it sparks flying, and she is not having it because she has had it with men, and he is just like, she's who I want. But he gets friend zoned almost immediately. So it's kind of the growth from turning from friendship into romance, and then of course end up with a happily ever after at the end.
I love how you twisted this story on its head. First of all, I love putting a female in a traditionally male type of vocation, construction. My dad's in construction. I know, I don't think he's worked with anything else the whole time I've been
right.
alive. So that's awesome. And then I love that she's 5 months pregnant, because it's very unexpected
Yes.
that a woman who is pregnant, let alone showing and that far along, would attract Mr. Right at that particular point in time.
Yeah.
So that, I think that really spins things on its head, but stranger things have happened. Things like that happen all the time. I actually know someone personally who she didn't find the guy, decided to do in vitro, had a baby on her own, but while she was pregnant, met the guy. And
Yeah.
so we live in such a different world right now in terms of women taking on male vocations, women deciding to, move forward with pregnancy, whether they find the man or not, or stay with the man or not.
Mm-hmm.
And wow, this is such an inspiring piece. Oh my goodness. And I love how, and you know what, I love also how the man is kind of like the ugly duckling who becomes the swan, because that's usually reserved
Exactly.
for a female too. Like, you just took every traditional cliche and spun it on its head with this book.
That's what I try to do with all my books, actually. The tropes that we use, the single mom, or the whatever the cliche is that really hooks the reader. Most of the time I try to find a way to make that interesting and different in a way that hopefully the reader hasn't read before, mainly because it makes it more interesting for me to write. And if I'm really excited about what I'm writing, I think it turns up on the page.
Cool. This is so exciting. And then I also, before we run out of time, I also want to talk about, you lead writing workshops. Can you tell us a little bit about the workshops that you lead?
Sure. Yeah, I have a list of them actually on my website, Anna Stewart, authorannastewart.com. That's Stewart with a T, not a D. And I started doing them mainly because, well, first of all, the types of workshops that I give, they're more about how to hone your own craft. I will never teach anybody how to write a book, because I only know how to write a book for me. I don't know how to tell anybody else to write a book, but I know the elements that are needed to write an effective book, especially an effective romance. So the latest workshop I've been giving is called Tell Me the Why, which is about really digging deep into the motivations of your characters and why they act the way that they do. I have another one on, what are the other ones I have? I have one on writing novellas. I actually created a workshop on writing short which is shocking to me because I've written quite a few novellas now.
Can I
And
ask you about that? So,
sure.
as somebody who's written full-length novels versus novellas, what do you think is the biggest difference between the two genres?
You have to write tighter and you have to write a conflict that can resolve itself in a short amount of time.
Mm.
Uh, with romance, you're always said there's no conflict, excuse me, there's no conflict if the problems between the two characters can be resolved with the conversation. That's a problem. That's not conflict. Conflict is a clash of belief systems. So when you're dealing with a novella in the romance genre, because that's what I write, you want conflict between the characters that can be easily resolved and an easier shift to the other person's point of view, which is really what the journey that they're going on. Um, uh, Something that can sustain itself anywhere from say 5,000 words up to 20,000 words, or even 40. I think under 40 is considered a novella, but it's just a matter of making sure that you choose the right conflict. And I typically do reunion stories or friends to lovers or characters that have known each other previously, because you've got that built-in history that you can build off on, that you don't have to completely build the relationship up from scratch. So for me, that's kind of the trick with novellas.
That's fascinating. That's great information. So you mentioned your website, and I'm sure everybody can find the books on your website, bookstores, Amazon, everywhere books are sold.
Pretty most of them, yes, pretty much.
Okay, great. And then are you on social media? Can you
I
share with us
am.
how we can follow you and keep track of
Sure.
everything?
Yeah, so I'm on Facebook at author Anna J. Stewart. Look for the red hair. That's one reason I keep it this color. Easily identifiable. And then I'm also on Twitter at AJ Stewart Writer. Let's see where else I'm at. Instagram as Anna J. Stewart. Again, I've got the red hair picture. I don't know how many other Anna J. Stewarts are out there, although I did just speak with an Anna J yesterday, which was hysterical. It was the meeting of the Anna J's. It was awesome. So those are the three main ones. And then if people want to find me on BookBub too, that would be great. I'm trying to bump up to a certain number. So if people want to find out about my new releases, and they're not signed up for my newsletter, which you can do on my website, BookBub is a great way to keep up with all of the books that are going to be coming out.
Fabulous. Well, and of course, we'll have all the links below so everybody could find you easily.
Great.
And I just want to thank you so much for sharing today. I am fascinated by how you turn everything upside down on its head in your stories. And I love that you found success doing
Thank you.
something you never thought you would. It's so amazing how we have this little voice in our head is like, I'm not that person. That's not what I do. And it's like, well, what? We can be anybody. We can do anything.
Right.
Why does that little voice try to stop us from
Right.
finding these wonderful things in our life?
Yeah. And for me, it really came down to feeling the fear and doing it anyway. Um, I always said because I was on submission for years, before I really got serious about, okay, this is what I want to do, because I knew how to fail. I knew how to get rejection letters, but the idea of getting that acceptance letter, that's when your writing shifts from being a hobby and being, your first love to being a job. And that's a big jump to make, and it's intimidating at times. But if it's between taking that jump and never achieving your dream, I'll take the jump every time.
Thank you. That words of wisdom and words to live by. Thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me today.
You're very welcome. Thank you for having me.
And I want to thank all of you out there in the interweb. And I'd like to challenge you to do something you never thought you would. Let us know what it is in the comments and where it leads you. And have a magical day.